Greetings, fellow Gears, and welcome to the COG Command Center. I'm your host, Zack, and today we have a very special guest, a person that I've known for a while, and we've talked off and on, but this is more of a nice reunion. Why don't you introduce yourself, friend?
Hey guys, this is B Chaps, or some people call me Brandon, or just Chaps. Hey man, nice to be on.
Oh yeah, it's always great to have you on, B Chaps. I can say that we've known each other for a while, right? That isn't just something that I'm spewing out of my butt, right?
We haven't talked very much, but we've known each other since, Gears 2, Gears 3 time frame on the forums?
No, it was Gears 2. It was after the first announcement with Cliffy B going on, I think, what was that one show? Jimmy Fallon. He was on Jimmy Fallon. There we go. Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. You know, it's 2019. It's been almost 10 years since we've known each other, and that's kind of insane.
Yeah, it's quite a while.
Let's talk about the Gears forums a little bit. That's kind of like how we met, but that's how I've talked to people around the community recently because I've been working on a few projects. And that's where a lot of them, they're still friends with people from 10 years ago because of these forums and how special they were. And people don't really understand the grasp of like what these forums were, really. Because before this, there wasn't really Reddit. I guess there was 4chan, but who'd want to talk about Gears on 4chan, really? It was the Epic forums, and that's where you would go.
Yeah, and I'd say some of the main people, I guess the people I play with right now, one of them is just a friend from real life, but the rest of them are basically all people that I've met from the Gears forums at different points in the time frame.
Yeah, because like the way I think of it is how I remember things in my life. Because when I was playing Gears for the first time, I was like 13. I remember it by launches of Gears. Like, oh yeah, I remember this part of my life is when Gears 2 was happening. Oh, this is when Gears 3 was happening and Judgment. And then there's like a black period, like the Dark Ages. Like, oh yeah, there's Gears 4.
Yeah, I always judged different periods of my life by okay, which grade was I in, or which semester of college was it? And then after I graduated, I didn't really have that anymore, so it started to become like, oh yeah, this is when Ultimate Edition launched, or this happened right around the time Gears 4 launched, and that's kind of how I gauged what time period it was when different things happened.
The funniest though was back when, because I still kind of talk to Tao, but I would always base when a new Gears game was coming out with the amount of children he was going to be having that year.
Yep.
So like after that, it's kind of like my perception of time and reality has kind of shifted a little bit. No offense to you, Tao, but it's like I'm like, oh, it must be Gears 3 time. You must be having a new baby.
Yep. I don't think they'll be having one this year, but for Gears 5, but maybe.
Oh no, we're not going to have like little Marcus Jr. I kid. But yeah, so B Chaps, why don't you tell me a little bit about some of your favorite Gears memories, or really how did you get into the Gears in the community?
So I got into Gears, I got an Xbox for Christmas around right when Gears 1 came out, and my parents got the Xbox for me, and Gears came with it. So I wanted Call of Duty at that time, but I only had Gears, so I played it, and I didn't go downstairs until dinner time because I got sucked into the game. So I got addicted to GAO right away, or Gears. I don't know why I just said GAO. Anyways, I got addicted to that right away, and then I think it was my freshman year of college. I started getting bored every once in a while because I didn't want to be that guy who went out and partied and got drunk every weekend. So I started going on the forums and becoming a little more active there.
And partying a different type of way, because I remember those horde parties.
Yeah, that was my freshman year of college. Gears 3 beta came out that year, and then so I remember doing all-nighter with one of my friends playing that, and then once the game came out, it was a lot of Gears, and I didn't have my Xbox at school, so I actually went to my friend's room to play that. And he had never played Gears before, so I introduced him to Gears, and then he got on the forums and started loving it, and yeah.
Yeah, no, that special period when the Gears 3 beta was happening, I think I slept. I know the first day I didn't sleep for about 42 to 72 hours, because I'm insane, and I was also 15 at the time. And it was one of those special times, especially being on the forums and being able to really talk to people. I remember was it Gears of Twitter and all those wonderful thread posts.
It was a nice community back then, but it also had some of the greatest, I don't want to say troll, but comedy threads, the like put beards on people type thing, or who's behind your Gears avatar and stuff like that.
You want to hear what my favorite one is, B Chaps? And the second I tell you it, you're going to laugh or you're going to be like, what? And I've talked to several people in the Gears community, and each person has either screamed or like, I remember that and I forgot about that, but now it's back in my head. Are you ready for this? Do you think I know what I'm talking about? Yes or no?
Is it a troll thing or a comedy?
Yes, it's a troll thing and a comedy thing.
Oh, is it Adam Phoenix?
Oh, no, it wasn't Adam Phoenix. It was Mr. Ed.
Well, yeah, no, Mr. Ed, he made, he had his I'm a horse things, which were fantastic, but he also made a thread. I think it was him who made the one that said, is Adam Phoenix retro phone?
Yes, and that's where me and my friend Squirrel, we would all talk about, like, is it a retro or is it a phone?
Yeah, we designed a Tecom jersey. We made our own fake sponsors for the back of it because we just paid for the jersey ourselves, and one of them is we have an Adam Phoenix retro phone logo on the back of the jersey.
I love that. But yeah, there was like those little weird things that were like troll threads. Like I remember my favorite ones were like when Gears 3 was about to launch and people were like, so what type of socks are you going to wear when Gears 3 comes out or when you start playing? Or like what's the coffin you're going to be buried in once you know you've died from not eating, sleeping, or playing video games? Like things like that. That's like tongue-in-cheek things that are so great about the forums.
Yeah, it was a really fun time.
Yeah, because there was like that weird period between Gears 2 and Gears 3 where, nothing was really happening because, Gears was a franchise, but it wasn't as big as it is today. So some people would play other games, but a lot of people would stay and play Gears 2 even when, like, not that many people were playing and you were seeing the same people. Like, I remember seeing the fake gamer tag Cliff Bleszinski playing all the time in Gears 2. And for some reason, we'd always play Memorial, which was really annoying.
I think the earliest threads I remember on the forums, because I started on the forums before Gears 2 came out, and I remember a big countdown thread leading up to Gears 2. And that's like the first thread I think I remember on the forums. But then once we started getting into that Gears 3 beta and Gears 3 launch timeframe, that's when things just exploded, and it was really a really high point of the forums.
Oh, yeah, no, because especially with the idea with the beta, because I think I've talked about this before on my own YouTube channel, but prior to the Gears 3 beta, there weren't really any Xbox betas that were public besides Halo Reach, and this is the one where they were really asking people for feedback and what they thought, especially that Gears was going on dedicated servers. They really wanted all that feedback.
And that's one thing I've loved about Gears betas, both Gears 3 and Gears 4, is it was Epic and the Coalition both made really big points of we're putting out an actual beta early enough in development that we want to get feedback. We have enough time to actually change the game based on your feedback. This isn't a glorified demo. We want beta feedback.
Yeah, and that's one of those weird misconceptions that people get because like, oh my god, I'm playing the new Fallout 76 beta, and it's like that's where you have the slide whistle almost, where it's, oh, you could, if they had enough time, they could warn everybody, but it was too late. But it was one of those weird things where it's almost like the person with the sandwich board that says the world's gonna end. It's like, yeah, right, buddy. Fallout 76 is gonna be a terrible game. It says Fallout on it, buddy. And it could have not known. But with Gears, like, there were a lot of issues in the Gears beta that were resolved and fixed, such as some of the maps they completely changed even though they didn't do overpass, which almost frustrates me to a core. They had things like, I remember, like, the retro had no recoil when you hip-fired it. That was an issue, but then it became a bigger issue when the game launched because they accidentally did something else. There was a lot of weird things in that beta.
And I remember the old forums actually had groups on it, and you could have, like, special private groups for messaging and stuff.
Yes, I remember those.
I was part of a beta bug squashers group where it was a couple of the QA guys, and then I think, do you remember NFI?
Yes, I remember NFI, yeah.
Yeah, he and I, and he's the only one I remember. He and I, a couple others, and a couple QA people were in there because we just had, like, a ridiculous list of bugs to go walk through with the QA people.
Yeah, there was a lot of like weird, interesting bugs in that beta. I remember the biggest one was with the sawed-off where you could down someone within like a certain range. Like insta-down people. Do you remember that?
Yeah, actually, I think the biggest bug from that beta is one that I'm really glad I got to experience because a lot of people didn't. And that's you loaded into a map that was behind the menu screen.
Yes! Oh, I remember this. Oh my god, I forgot about this. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, I remember that where it's actually I remember Rod tweeting like it's actually not a map, it's actually you're playing in the menu and it was like the weird like void-ish thing, but you still had the infected omen logo in it.
Yeah, and I eventually talking to one of the QA guys at Epic, I learned how to trigger that in the beta, and that was you needed to it was at the right time between matches. Whoever was host, if the dedicated servers weren't up, it was whoever was host at the exact right second. They needed to rage quit by unplugging their Xbox. It wasn't like quitting the game or it wasn't turning off their console. It was unplug your Xbox at the perfect second, and that came up.
That seems like such a weird glitch, but I guess, the weirder things happen. Like, you just need to have the stars aligned during, like, the midnight hour and all those weird things.
Like, first of all, props to QA. I don't know how the hell they figured that out, but, like...
Isn't it supposed to be, like, their job to pretty much just run around and do things to, like, fudge and cheese the game?
Yeah, but, like, I don't know what happened with that. There couldn't have been that many people running around unplugging their Xboxes during the beta.
No, but I think there was a lot of, like, I know because this is from experience from, like, from Tao and Squirrel, there was a lot of rolling blackouts on the East Coast. So there was just a lot of weird things that were happening where it's like it's raining. And I remember Squirrel, she would used to tell me, well, I might get disconnected because the power is going to go out. And it's like,
yeah.
I just always was like, you should just get, like, a bike where you just ride it. And it pretty much just powers your Xbox just in case that were to happen.
That'd be a good way to stay in shape.
Oh, yeah, it'd be the perfect way to stay in shape, especially when all you're doing all day is like Jabba the Hudding. You're just like sitting there and going, oh, oh, oh. Oh, yeah. God. And especially like in Gears 2, when that game came out and launched, I've had some of the most fun discussions talking about it because a lot of the game at launch was really broken, but that's what made the game kind of fun at launch a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Ragdoll Smoke's terribly broken, yet surprisingly fun.
I have my fondest memories were Ragdoll Smokes, but Ragdolling Smoking Scourge and him flying across the map and doing crazy weird cartwheels.
Yep. Yeah, I had some really good memories with that at launch.
Oh, yeah, especially like Shield and Shotgun.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, that was a bit overpowered.
And then it became a feature in Gears Judgment, and everyone was like, what?
Yep.
And then even like getting into the launch of Gears 3, which was probably the biggest launch I think everyone's ever experienced. Because, everyone was like, they played the beta. It was almost like the way I put it in my video was it's like a drug dealer. It's like we got the hit with the beta, and then we had to go back to Gears 2, and everyone was getting like their shakes a little bit. Once Gears 3 rolled around, that's when the floodgates opened, and everyone was... I think that was the most happiest I've ever seen people because, the game really worked. It was on dedicated servers, and no one really saw the cracks of the game yet until, like a year or two later.
Yeah, and I was always in school, like either high school or college when the Gears games launched. I don't know about you, but Gears 4 was the first game that, because I was working at the time that Gears 4 launched, and I decided to take a vacation day. Like, I didn't actually go to midnight releases or anything for any of the other Gears games.
So for me, like, when I first started playing, it's about 13. Actually, Gears 3 was my sophomore, junior year. I didn't take any sick days. I just remember running and getting to my house in, like, less than an hour when I lived, like, a mile from my school. But for Gears 4, it was a really weird because that was when I was in college, so some days I had off. So pretty much I skipped a day of school just to play Gears 4. But yeah, there was like that weird thing where it's like we all grew up with Gears almost the same way as like Delta grew up. And like we finally had it tomorrow with, I guess maybe Judgment was almost like a blessing in disguise, even though it's a weird experimental game. And I call it the angsty teenage of Gears.
Yeah.
I think it made us appreciate the gameplay of Gears 4 a little more past Gears Judgment.
It definitely did. And one thing I've pointed out to a couple people is, like you said, appreciating the gameplay of Gears 4. The Coalition put out, like, we're going to be making a Gears game. This will be our first Gears game. And it's not going to be any, like, groundbreaking thing because they want to walk or crawl before they walk, before they run. But even though it's not my favorite like Gears campaign, they made a really solid game, and it definitely feels like a Gears campaign.
So when it comes to the Gears campaign, I just replayed it for the Gilded Realm. I played it with my good friend Viking. And I guess for me, because I have to look at things critically because I review books, is that the campaign storyline was not to say it was the laziest thing. It just felt like really rushed, the same way as The Force Awakens felt rushed, because it's very open ended. And I understand what they're trying to do with like trying to expand the mystery, but the main problem that I had with it is that no human being or Saren human being would not be the same way as like asking questions like, hey, what's going on? What's this? I'm confused. Like, there's like the part that really bugged me is when you're speaking to the speaker and Kate just kills him. And it's like, you couldn't just ask, why do you have my mother? Why are you doing this? Like, you have time before she's like, stomps his brains in, other than, we're coming for you and killing the hive.
Yeah, I'd say gameplay-wise, this was a pretty good campaign. Story-wise, I'd probably put this as my least favorite Gears game.
So gameplay-wise, I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of points, like once you get to the Swarm, the game becomes 1,000 times more interesting because, you're discovering things. And not to say like there's some bad plot points, but like when you get into the dialogue with JD and Marcus, I really enjoyed that stuff. Like I really wish that was just the campaign of just Marcus and JD just going on like a family road trip, like a la Goofy movie.
Yep. Oh man, I remember that movie.
Marcus, we got to meet Powerline.
Oh man.
Dad, do the trick. And he starts wall bouncing.
Oh man.
Obviously with like the weird dark period with Gears, we had, a lot of, not people like splinter off, but people did grow up. And I think the saddest thing about, Gears kind of dying for that little bit is that I didn't get a chance to talk to all my friends because, we all went our separate ways a little bit.
Yeah, luckily I've had a couple good friends that have stuck around for Gears, or at least they come back when Gears comes out. But yeah, there's definitely been a lot of people who've just kind of faded away from Gears.
And I think the worst thing about online gaming, though, online gaming is still a very new thing, is like looking at your friends list and seeing all the people that are offline now just completely, and then you're wondering like, oh, whatever happened to them? I hope they're doing okay.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hard things where it's like, I really just wish that I could have better contact with people. But now that I'm, hanging out with people more and online things, like I need people's numbers. I need things just to make sure that they're okay because I'm a worrywart a little bit.
I mean, that's one thing I really enjoy is that even though a lot of them aren't playing Xbox with me right now, I can go on Twitter and see a lot of them there.
Oh, yeah, no, that's how I still keep in contact with the South Park squad. Like, all of us have gone our separate ways a little bit. Like, Squirrel, they play fighting games. Biz, they play Final Fantasy. Nash's, they play WoW. Tao, I think, has children, so I don't know what he's doing. Maybe building a log cabin out in Maine, hanging out with Stephen King. And then me, I'm just doing podcasting stuff and really like just trying to live my life in a fun way that's both trying to balance Gears and balance everything in my life.
Even, like, honestly, I haven't been playing games very much recently. I don't know if it's just, like, I'm reaching that point in my life where I don't have as much time for games, or I'm focusing on some other stuff. Outside of going for some of the Gilded Realm stuff, and I think I played 10 games of Apex Legends, I haven't played Xbox or PC gaming at all this year.
Even though it's, like, a weird contested thing in the Gears community, like, I really enjoy when, like, packs came out, because for me I could like stop playing Gears for a little bit, and then when new content came I could like come back for like a week or two, complain, and then leave again.
Yep. Yeah, I did that near the end of the cycle there for a bit.
I mean, yes, it's a good and bad thing. Like, I really enjoyed your thread you had on Reddit today about the business model for Gears. I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, I doubt they would do that for Gears 5, but I did kind of think like, oh, that Fortnite model they had, not the Battle Royale stuff, but like that business model of selling the campaign and Horde and doing versus multiplayer for free. I'm really curious as to how that would work. Not just for Gears, but like AAA games in general.
I would prefer actually kind of like that, but just having like the battle passes that they have where you can just subscribe for like $10 or so, and you just pretty much all you do is just play and you unlock things. Like, I'm perfectly fine with having stuff like that and having like the roadmap to DLC and maps. Like, I understand like why there's microtransactions because we have to put like nose hair and orcs and like horses change in Red Dead depending on the environment. A la explicit content here. But yeah, no, I understand that, and it's one of those hard things where it's like I miss Gears the back in the day when you unlock things through leveling up, and I think having that business model, what they have with Fortnite, would actually really, really work.
Yeah, I would love to see it. If not for Gears 5, maybe future Gears titles or maybe some other AAA games that come out in the future.
Having a game where it's free to play, that means like there's gonna be more people that are more inclined to spend more time playing the game and really getting in deep diving into it. Would bring back like an interesting sense of the community because we have, people, the old guard, we have people that are kind of newish to starting Gears 4, and now we're going to be having newer people when Gears 5 comes out because, they've shown what Gears 4 is. Now we're getting to the Empire Strikes Back of Gears of War games from what I've been hearing.
And Gears 5 is actually going to be on Game Pass, I believe, so...
Yes, which is going to be a unique thing because this is the first time this has happened where, even though I'm probably just going to buy the collector's edition because I'm a chump and I like collector's editions, like that's kind of like a nice, cool thing of having like, oh my god, anyone can play it for $10. That's a great idea. That's a great model to have. But I think Chaps and we actually have a very interesting world that we share. We both have found Easter eggs in a Gears of War game.
Yeah, I have spent way too much time looking for Easter eggs in Gears games.
Oh, I remember your like hunt for the yellow submarine, like Ishmael and Captain Ahab looking for the white whale. Like, there he be.
Yeah, that was mainly, I guess, I've had a few people look for Easter eggs with me. I'd say Faux Blue Dodger and I have teamed up and found a lot of little stuff. We spent, especially that yellow submarine. It was the yellow submarine and the library on Judgment. Those two we spent the most time on.
Oh, yeah, no, I remember the library and Judgment because I was there when Nash's was the Reaper.
Yep.
And he fought the Reaper as the Reaper, and it got really meta.
Yeah, I got to do that as well when I finally got that thing. It was a lot of... I was really, especially Dodger, was really salty about the library Easter egg because we spent so long looking for that, and we were the first ones to get that painting to fall down and like find the note on the ground. And we shot it with like every weapon we could think of, but we kept trading out our pistols to pick up weapons to shoot it with, so we never shot it with our pistol, which was what the requirement was. So after like 2 days of trying a bunch of stuff, we finally like, all right, we can't figure it out. We posted that first step online, and within an hour, someone posted like, oh, this is how you do it. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, for me, because I don't think I've told this story yet on my channel, and that is when we discovered the slab Easter egg in Gears 3.
Yeah. That was, did you guys discover that before it officially released?
Yeah, it was, we found it in the trailer, and that was, I have to give credit to Biscuit Dough for this, because he was like, you know what, that looks really weird, there's a thrashball-sized hole, because when they had Gears 3 had the fly-through maps, trailers, it's like, wait a second, that thrashball looks as if it can go into that thrashball-sized hole over there.
I remember after you guys found that, I went on the map and continued trying to expand it. I found a lot of holes in the slab, like areas where there's no mesh if you look at the right angle or you aim a grenade the right way. It's very interesting.
The funny thing is from what I was told, there were actually originally more steps to that Easter egg. And there was like a bunch of people like doing conspiracy theories, which was like push the crate over the grate, if you remember that.
No, I don't remember that.
So I guess there was like some audio file, or I guess people were hearing things. It was almost like the Yanni challenge, where it was like,
yeah,
you would like listen to like a cell, and someone would be like, "Push the crate over the grate," and like, I don't hear anything, buddy. The only step that I guess they had as well was that when you went to the laundry room, like one of the hampers, or I guess one of the laundry machines was opened, and you did something, and that would trigger the next part of the Easter egg.
Gears 3 did a great job at like doing those really nice, elaborate Easter eggs. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and it's one of those weird experiences when you find like an Easter egg, and you're just like, wait a second, no one in the history of the world has found this yet? This is really weird.
So I got early access to that last map pack that came out, the one that had all the cleavers and stuff in it.
Oh, Forces of Nature.
Yeah. So I helped search for Jacinto for quite a while. I didn't end up finding anything for that. I searched for the Ice Cleaver a lot. Wasn't able to contribute much there. But then I was on the team that found the artillery one.
I remember, this is just my brain, and I think this you might be able to confirm this, but I remember you could actually have the cleaver on Aftermath in multiplayer. Like, you shot something and like it could trigger like easily, and you would grab it and kill people in Aftermath.
Yeah, so I think that
one was broken, right? That Easter egg was broken, if I remember correctly.
that Easter egg was broken because you had to do a bunch of steps and then shoot the Leviathan's arm. But they had the Leviathan's arm there the whole time. It was just invisible until you got to the right part. So if you knew where to shoot, you could still just like shoot up at it and activate the final step. And the reason it was an issue in multiplayer when it first came out is because if you did the right steps, you would have Hammer of Dawn command centers from Horde.
Yes, that's the reason why it was a pain in the ass. I was like remembering there's a reason why everyone died, but I thought it was because of the cleaver, but it was from the Hammer of Dawn command centers.
Yeah, so if you were not Swarm, if you were the Locust team and someone got that cleaver, there were Hammer of Dawn things, so a Cog person would just hit it and the entire Locust team would just die and round over.
Yeah, because the Locust couldn't press the button because it's only coded for Cog.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I remember that whole Easter egg process. Like, you would shoot like the Anthony Carmine helmet up on like some spire somewhere.
Yep.
Oh man. Though my favorite Easter egg is always going to be the Gears toaster in Gears 2 because it's so stupid.
I think my favorite Easter egg though is probably, I think, was South Park Squad involved in the chicken on Harbor? No, not Harbor. What's the
Oh, you mean the the Raven's Nest or Sovereign?
No, I'm thinking it's a multiplayer map. It's the one that's in beast mode where the giant golden chicken comes out and breathes fire.
Oh, that's Mist, or that's the Haze, or I can't remember the name of the map, but the map is like the one where it's it's a stranded settlement. Yeah, and there's a bunch of chickens.
Yeah, it's a settlement with a boat. Yeah, I remember the map perfectly. I just can't remember the name of the map.
I can remember everything about that map except the name of the map.
Exactly, and it's driving me insane right now.
Except we have that one person who's like, it's insert name here, gosh darn it. Don't you know your 10-year-old maps?
Yeah, I know. I do that all the time when I listen to podcasts all the time. People are always like getting stuck on one thing they can't remember, and I instantly know it. I'm like, come on, guys. And now I'm that person.
This is why I'm not going to be good at Jeopardy unless there's Gears questions. Like, what is the name in Gears 3 of the map that has Disused Bar in it? Like, oh, well, there it goes. But yeah, I remember that. I think South Park Squad had a hand in that, but I don't think we were the ones to actually find it. I think we made a funny video based on it. Because I think we wiped out an entire team with it. Because my friends and I would do stupid things and try to get people mad, and for some reason it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know in TDM this is how disgusting we used to play Gears TDM, because we used to play it all the time, because we were a bunch of people that just liked TDM. Was I think we had like 11.5 win-loss ratio.
Yeah. Well, and Nash's used to have his Ruining Ranked playlist, where he'd run around with a retro.
I was just rewatching some of those, and it's weird because I know, like, it's almost like Schadenfreude where you feel bad for the other team, but I'm, like, looking at it, like, I remember a conversation they had from, like, 7 years ago, and that's funny and terrible at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Ruining Ranked, it wasn't about, I guess, trying to actually, the whole joke people don't realize about Ruining Ranked is that we're not trying to ruin people's experiences. We're trying to prevent people from experiences being ruined by showing how broken the retro was.
Yeah, no, and Nash's definitely was able. Actually, I don't know. I only knew Nash's to be the retro guy. Did all of you run around with retros together?
Oh, did you know the story about Ruining Ranked?
No, But first, real quick, before you tell that story, the name of the map is Cove.
Thank you. It's Cove. Oh yeah, because I called it the Jimmy Buffett map. Because we used to call Dizzy's Bar Margaritaville. But yeah, so with like ruining ranked, it was I won't say names, but it was two people in the community that were very prominent. One of them was currently working at Epic at the time. Was talking about how unbroken the retro was, and like, oh no, it's really balanced. And Ash is like, no, it's not really, and I'm going to prove it to you. And then another person stepped in within that working Epic, and I'm not going to say whose name is because he still works there.
I think I know who you're talking about.
I'll tell you off mic who it is. But pretty much what ended up happening is Natchez was like, hey guys, let's use retros, nothing but retros. So we started doing it. Obviously we picked up power weapons and we used things. And I guess the point wasn't getting across. So it's like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're only going to use the retro. Okay, so we're still going to pick up power weapons, but we're not going to use them. And the person was like, no, that doesn't work. You have to really prove this. So we let the people get the power weapons, and we only had retros, and we'd still win, and we'd still sometimes come out 15-0. And like, is this enough to prove it? No. Okay.
No, you're just wrong.
Much. Yeah, you're just wrong. You missed.
You missed. There you go.
But it's one of those things where actually technically it did get changed. It did get changed for Gears Judgment and Gears 4. Maybe there's that one person that was working there. It's like, those people? Yeah, let's not make the retro stupid anymore. Let's make it like an actual gun that actually works. And I really like the retro in Gears 4. It's a lot of fun to use.
God, I was worried about the retro in Gears 4 because didn't they not have that in the beta at all?
Yeah, they didn't have it in the beta. It was one of those things where I guess maybe it was almost like the prequel series in Star Wars. We don't want to talk about midichlorians, so we're not going to have the sawed off and we're not going to have the retro.
I think they were planning on putting the retro in for the beta, and then after they saw people playing, they realized that they needed to rebalance it and revamp it a little bit, so they didn't want to rush it and put it in. It is a pretty different weapon now. It's a little bit more accurate and not as ridiculous point blank.
Yeah, same as with, I actually really enjoyed the sawed off in Gears Judgment because I felt like that was the weapon we should have get. It makes more sense than it should have been than in Gears 3. But then again, Gears 3 was Cliffy B saying, don't date the game, we want you to marry it. So we wanted to give people an excuse to kill people in one shot. But in Gears Judgment, where you could fire off 2 shots really quickly, I like that more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was exactly the same as the Nasher mechanics and aiming and damage, except you had 2 shots as fast as you wanted, and then you had to reload.
Yeah, and I think that's what made it actually a balanced weapon. If it was in Gears 3, I think people would have had less of a hard time using it as a weapon, because it wasn't really well, I remember they called it. I think it was not a noob tube, it was oh my god, I can't even remember the name of it. There was a name for it. But I just remember when you ran out of ammo with it, you would call it the baseball bat, because all you would do is beat people over the face with it.
Yep. Or you could pick up a Nasher, because everyone else used one.
Oh yeah, I was always worried about getting sawed-off ammo, not getting Nasher ammo. Oh, look, I found another Nasher. Oh no. Though, I think the most fun I've ever had playing Gears 3 was when they first had Stay Frosty.
Oh my god, I loved Stay Frosty. The Coalition did an okay-ish job with it. I still miss the Gears 3 Stay Frosty. I remember exactly where I was sitting when I was playing Stay Frosty the first time, and I remember the first map I played Stay Frosty on.
What map was that?
That was Escalation.
Okay.
Which is not my favorite map, but I remember playing Stay Frosty. I clearly remember Stay Frosty on Escalation and on the Slab. And those are the 2 that I very clearly remember.
Now, the one that you're going to start rolling your eyes to the back of your head was, my favorite was Trenches, and we'd all get up towards Molter Spawn, and we'd all synchronize our walking patterns and do dances, but still somehow win. We were just messing around, but people have to come up to kill us. Oh man, that was dirty. Same as with Sandbar, because when you have a fully automatic sniper rifle that is the Hammer Burst, oh no, things die.
Yeah, especially Gears 3 when you had that zoom on the hammer burst.
Oh, me, yeah, with the aiming down the sights, especially when. Do you remember? Actually, two Horde events that I remember the most was Gears 2 when they had the 4th of July event with the tickers.
Yeah, just tickers everywhere.
Yeah, remember playing it on Memorial, and like you'd run out of bullets fast, then you could kill the tickers.
I'd say my two favorite Horde events was Wretches with.
Shotguns.
They had one where Wretches had torque bows. I think I liked the shotgun one better. And then there was another one where it was, I think it was Sires with chainsaw or Sires with lancers.
Yeah, and they could chainsaw people. I remember that because they would like run at you, and like because the weird animation of trying to grapple you, they would chainsaw you and still running. They could like chainsaw multiple people all at once.
And Sires were like notorious in Gears 2 for being bullet sponges, and the easiest way to kill them was just to chainsaw them. But then when they gave Sires chainsaws, that meant like you would get into a chainsaw duel with them. You wouldn't just like easily chainsaw them.
And I think they'd always win too. Like they were like broken to the point of where like you couldn't tap fast enough to win that chainsaw battle.
Probably if you were on Insane or something.
Yeah, and then my favorite one is the one for Gears 3 when they broke Horde with the butchers that had like stupid health. Yeah, you remember what I'm talking about.
Dude, Gears 2 Horde, man. Those were fun times. I really like what they did with fortifications in Gears 4, but like Gears 2 Horde had some really, really cool stuff.
Oh yeah, no,
on.
Gears 2 Horde, like the pinnacle of it was playing on security, on Wave 50, on Insane, and there's just bullets everywhere, and you're just like, if I stick my head out, my head is gonna just come right off.
I had, I think it was River and Day 1 were my two maps that I did most of my Horde on.
For me, it was Nowhere, and then it was also, let's see, I'm trying to remember the name of the map in Gears 2. I really enjoyed Flood because it felt like, oh my god, this seems like the ending of a movie where you're stuck on the middle of the platform and you're just being hailed with bullets.
Yeah, because I remember very specifically Day 1 was our most played because you could go up the stairs to the balcony where Torque and Sniper alternated spawn every round. So one of my teammates and I would alternate picking that up. One would get Torque, one would get Sniper. And then there was an ammo box near the bottom of the stairs. And because it's a narrow staircase, you could just do the shield plant thing with one shield and block the entire staircase.
Yeah, I remember because you had to put the shield in backwards so they couldn't kick it. Let's just take a minute and talk about how great all the Gears 2 maps were, and there was like 1,000 of those things.
I don't want to go off on a rant about the Gears 4 Season Pass, but when that was first announced, I did a comparison of what you got in the Season Pass for how much you paid, and I compared that across all the games that had come out. And Gears 2's value for the DLC was so amazing for what you got, for what you paid.
Yeah, because like the first map pack, the flashback, came with the game. So that's 5 maps off the bat.
Yeah.
And then you'd have the Combustible, then Snowblind, then Dark Corners.
And not only did they have all those map packs, which had like 4 or 5 maps, whatever, in each one, but they were good maps too.
Oh yeah, no, the Dark Corners maps like Memorial and Allfather's Garden are some of the most thought out maps I've ever played, because Memorial had every weapon on the map but still felt balanced.
God, it was amazing how good the maps were back then and how many you got.
Especially when they decided to reimagine maps. And we also got PC maps for the first time. We got Gold Rush and we also got Sanctuary. And they made them work with 5v5. And they also... I think the most important thing that we have to stress about when they remade maps in every Gears game, even Gears Judgment, is that they would actually look at them and see how it would work for that Gears game rather than how it would work in the previous game. Because that's one of the reasons why we didn't get River, even though I'm sad.
Yeah.
Is that, it just didn't work in Gears 3.
Yeah, if I trust them. If they say it, we had Epic and we had the Coalition both say it doesn't work for their game. So I'll trust them on that.
And even, this is how I believe that, is that they didn't put Gridlock in Judgment because it didn't work in Judgment.
But at the same time, they could have changed it a lot. Like, Blood Drive apparently didn't work for Judgment, but then they just completely revamped Blood Drive for Judgment.
Oh no, it became like a weird, wacky arena, which was almost funny.
Yeah, that was kind of a laughable map. And that's another point is, out of the 5 games that have come out so far, we've got like Gears 1 through 4 plus Judgment, so it's 5 games. Gridlock has been in 4 of them. It wasn't in Judgment, and Blood Drive has been in 4 of them. It wasn't in Gears 1. So both of those maps have been in 4 out of the 5 games, and I hate both of those maps.
I'm getting tired now. Every time I see them, maybe it might be my old age, but just like, it's like a person that goes to the same restaurant over and over again. It's like, you know what? After a while, I think I might go to a different restaurant and maybe get the same food, just taste differently.
Depending on the game mode, Gridlock can be pretty campy.
See, that's why I enjoy like objective modes like King of the Hill, where it's constantly moving. Like TDM and Execution, good luck getting up those stairs.
Actually, I think it's the same for Blood Drive and Gridlock. Both of those are very campy for certain game modes, like Guardian, Execution, that type of stuff. King of the Hill, they play okay, but I still hate it when I have to play that because I'm just tired of the map.
I understand like why they're in there because, you know, they're symmetrical maps and they're all fan favorites. But maybe in Gears 5 we won't get them because like I really want other maps to shine again. Like I really, really enjoyed Jacinto. I'd like that to come back for a third time.
That, so did you see the phone picture that Phil Spencer tweeted out a month or so ago?
Yes, the really blurry one that I have to put on like 2 pairs of glasses to kind of squint and see it.
Yeah, so on Reddit, some of the speculation was that was Gridlock.
Oh no.
Yeah, that has me not too excited.
I feel like that should just be the April Fool's joke where it's just like, hey, so we're going to have Gridlock, but all the maps are Gridlock now.
Put out a map pack on April Fool's Day that's Gridlock, Gridlock Dark, Gridlock Bright. Like,
though, you know what my favorite Gridlock was Edgy Gridlock. It was in the original Gears 2 multiplayer reveal where it's just like this weird, like gritty, dark orange Gridlock that made no sense other than it looked like it belonged in like an MCR cover.
Gears 2 Gridlock was pretty cool at launch though, like with the overgrown theme on it.
Oh no, that's what I liked about it. They changed it because it was originally supposed to be like an actual base game map, but then they made it. We'll make it into a flashback DLC. Same as with like all the reimagining maps, like in Jacinto, like Gears 3 with having the stocks and having it like rainy. Though I think that map's also broken because they was supposed to have a cool map effect where it would have torrential rain, where you couldn't shoot certain parts of the map. Like the windows and like because the rain would just keep coming down. Like it rains on that map a little bit, but I think they toned it down. What would you like to see in Gears 5? I think that might be the way we're going to wrap this up because we've been talking for a while and it's good catching up with you, B Chaps.
Yeah. So what do I want to see in Gears 5? So I'll pick the main aspects of we got campaign, horde, and multiplayer. So for campaign, I want to see a big bad get created. I think the Swarm have had time to kind of grow as a species now, so some sort of leader has probably started to come up. I would like to see that come out of campaign, and maybe not necessarily die or you'd have to have some sort of big bad die at the end of a game. It's kind of a cliche, but...
So, like, normally how Gears campaigns work is that you have the big bad guy, and then you have the bigger bad guy, which, you know, Gears 2, Scourge, Mira. I guess in Gears 1, it's kind of weird because it's Theron guards and then Rom.
Yeah, so I'd like to see, I guess, both the big bad and the bigger bad come out.
Knowing the luck of the game, what I have a feeling they're going to do is they're going to do kind of like Greymind in Halo, where it's just like this weird gelatinous thing that's just like, oh yeah, I'm here, I'm big and spooky.
I hope they don't, but I don't know.
I want them to pull like a total like Wizard of Oz where it turns out it's Griffin the entire time. It's like, pay no attention behind the man behind the curtain, bitch.
Let's see. So I think, yeah, the big bad is one of the big things I want from campaign. From horde, I just want to see like more variety. Be that like more classes or abilities or something to make it so that you're not just camped in a certain area defending, something to make you move around the map. Special events, just something to make more variety so it doesn't get stale as quickly.
For me, that's where I would say I'd like something kind of like Battle Royale where you need to keep moving, kind of like e-holes or something would spawn, and like if you're stuck in that spot, like all your stuff gets destroyed. I know it sounds annoying, but I'd like the aspect of like you have to keep moving and building and like moving your fortifications, because they have that aspect of like where you have to move like the fortifications, and you have pistols and stuff. Like I wish we had those more elements where like the maps like either closing in, so you have to like beat the wave almost.
Yeah, I did a discussion, I think it was with Pete, or the Razored Edge, and Cherry Quench a while back, where we talked about some of the ways that we wanted Horde to evolve like that. Like, hey, this thing spawned on the other side of the map. The enemies are starting to attack it, but you need to get over there and defend it, and if that dies, you fail the wave. Instead of bonus objectives... Yeah, so it's like implement, instead of bonus objectives, have mandatory objectives that get you out of your comfort zone and make you move around.
Did you ever play Mass Effect 3 multiplayer by chance?
No.
So Mass Effect 3 did something like that. So there was about 12 waves, or it might have been 13, but every third wave you had to complete an objective or you would fail the wave. And when you completed those objectives, that's how you would get paid to get your loot crates, or something like that. Like you actually had to complete, so like it was an incentive to keep playing. Was you either had to do an escort mission, you either had to kill like a certain enemy on the map, or you had to do things that weren't challenges, but they were designated things that were kind of like in lore stuff, which was really cool.
Yeah, Destiny 1. I can't remember the name of Prison of Elders. They had something where it was like these different arenas that you would go into and defend against waves of people, but they would have like, this bomb or these 3 bombs just spawned on the map. You have to go defuse them before the time runs out, or else you fail.
When it comes to Horde, like that's the one thing that kind of kills Horde for me now, is kind of the campiness of it. Like you can set behind sentries now and pretty much do nothing except be on your phone and be on Instagram and win.
Yeah. So to hit on the one last area of the game, versus multiplayer, I think I'm going to have to go with two things for this that I'd like to see. One is a universal tuning, just so we're not splitting the community.
So we're in agreement that I think universal tuning should just be there and never should have 2 separate tunings ever again.
Yeah, if they want split tunings, I've given lots of proposals on ways to implement that would be less intrusive. But I would much prefer a single tuning.
Yeah, no, I'm the exact same way, just because like if you look at the Gears groups, like when you're searching for groups and you see people, it's just like be good or get kicked. I'm like, well, maybe some people just want to spend time and have fun and play a couple of games rather than be hyper competitive for the diamond ranks, and you have to be this certain tuning to really appreciate it. Because I was playing 2v2 Nashers, and it really kills it when you have to like relearn the game when this other person's been playing on that tuning for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd say the other big thing I would like to see is I want a private lobby system that is not an afterthought. And by that I mean so you know how you used to be able to choose your starting weapon in Gears 4?
Yeah, I remember.
There was no way to actually... One of the big things was there was no way to set, I want my Hammer Burst as my starting weapon. You had to change that every single match, which is really dumb.
I think it would be so cool to have something, because we have now the integration of, smartphone apps, like having stuff like that. Like you could just tune it on the fly and change it. That'd be so cool.
Speaking of smartphone apps, or even like an app on your PC, being able to have that type of customization and even like bring up the overhead map or something like that. If you could bring up the overhead map on your phone, that would be really cool.
See, they did that in Battlefield 4, and it didn't work at all. Like, it was always like 3 or 4 seconds delayed.
Yeah, I can see that.
And sometimes it would give you the incorrect information, which kind of sucked.
And like the whole private lobby, like not an afterthought thing. The setting your standard weapon is one thing, but being able to choose, instead of going and changing all weapons to long shot, it's one thing. I want every weapon to be long shot. That's one toggle. Or I want regenerating ammo. I want everyone to start with this weapon. Like those things that allow the community to make custom game types. That's a huge thing that Halo had going for it. Besides Forge, where they could make their own maps, they had the ability to create custom game types that they could share.
I remember all those custom game modes. That's what made me play Halo 3 for so long was, playing Infected or playing clever maps, but also playing clever game modes like VIP, but like you were playing like a mini boss. It was so cool.
And then I don't remember if they ever implemented it in Halo 3 or not, but they made in at least Reach, they made their grab bag playlist, which was a bunch of community game types that were made that they put in a single playlist that just rotated around.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun talking to you, B Chaps. It's always really fun to catch up with you and talk to a good friend of mine.
Yeah, it's nice to be on, and glad to see you doing some Gears Talk stuff now.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things that's like, I like sharing stories because Gears of War is now over 10 years old, which makes it now nostalgic. So there's a lot of stories that will be lost in the ether if we don't record them and keep them for future Gears generations.
Yep.
Well, what's a two-piece? I don't know. Well, let's go to the COG Command Center. This is the history of the two-piece. I'm like 80 years old and Gears 87's out. Now I'm going into like more of a Morty. Gee, I don't know, Marcus. But yeah, it's always a pleasure. B Chaps, where can they find you?
Let's see. I am on Twitter for @bchappy, and I guess also YouTube. I think it's Gao Tatcom or it's Tatcom. If you look up Gears Tatcom, you'll find it.